Hey YouTube, what's up, party animals? The John Vandivier here. How many of y'all are American? Hmm? And do you vote? Because you should. Uh, you know, here in America we have this thing called democracy. Part of democracy is the voting system, and another part is the principle of representation. So I'm here to talk about how to elect a candidate that accurately represents your views and can properly execute them. Basically, I want to help y'all analyze, organize, and compare. Analyze, organize, and compare information on candidates. And picking out who you're going to vote for. Now, I'm not going to tell you to vote for anybody. I'm not a schmuck, and I'm not going to try and sway you. But I'm here to give you an objective system that will allow you to compare your candidates on an even level. Because I find a lot of people, when I ask them why they like who they like, I find a lot of subjectivity. We need to get rid of that crap. We need to make an educated decision if we want to improve the situation in our country. And I think we can all agree currently it's crap. The situation in this country is crap. I love America, but we got a lot of stuff to improve on. All right, here we go. So we need to ask 4 critical questions. It's not a mountain. There's just 4 critical questions. Number 1, before you even get to the candidate, you need to ask, what do you believe as a person and as a voter? What do you believe? You need to get your own, what do I believe? We need to get our own standard. Like I said, we do this because of the principle of representation. How are you going to elect a candidate that represents you if you don't know who you are? Are you conservative? Are you liberal? I think a lot of y'all will find as soon as you apply critical thinking, the slightest bit of critical thinking, you will not say, I'm a libertarian, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Tea Partier. You will identify yourself on the liberal to conservative continuum as opposed to on a Democrat-Republican continuum, because party lines are unintelligible. And unintelligent, both. Alright, so you need to ask who you are. Once you got who you are, then we're going to say, this candidate I'm talking about, any particular candidate, we're going to take them one at a time. This first particular candidate, what does he or she believe? We're going to analyze this, and we're going to actually do some research. You need to do research, y'all. In case y'all don't know, this most recent debate, Herman Cain came out above Rick Perry in the poll in Florida after this most recent Republican candidatal debate. And a lot of people are like, who's Herman Cain? You know, he won, but no one knows who he is. I'm sorry, he didn't win. He came in second to Mr. Romney. Anyway, I'm not going to go talking about candidates, but you shouldn't be voting for somebody if you don't know who he is. That's what I'm trying to say here. You shouldn't vote for someone just because he looks good or sounds good or had a particular good debate. You know, I'm not going to name names, but there's one particular candidate who's a terrible, absolutely terrible debater. He looks nervous as all get out. He's always doing this with his thumbs. He's playing with his thumbs. He looks like he's sweating balls up there on the stage, but he's a freaking genius. Okay? He just gets nervous as crap. But if you had researched the guy, you would know he's a freaking genius. Wouldn't you? And you wouldn't care that he's not a very good public speaker. Because are we trying to elect a good public speaker? No, we're trying to elect a good president, a good governor, someone that's intelligent with critical thinking skills. There we go. So we need to research them. How are we going to research them? We're going to look at their voting record. We're going to look at their voting record for consistency and also for views. What is their view, and is their view consistent? Are they a flip-flopper? If they flip-flop, occasionally it's justified, but they better have a good reason why. We're also going to look at their actions and their speeches. Do their speeches line up with their voting record? And you can take their voting record as an action, but that's not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is the events they go to. Where do they go? Where do they give their speeches? Who do they support? What candidates and organizations do they support? Do their words and their actions match up? Because if they don't, they're probably a liar, and no one wants to elect a liar. Why do you not want to elect a liar? Because what if you elect them on a certain platform that they have said is their platform? Once they're elected, being a liar, they could easily not hold themselves accountable to the platform they confessed prior to their election. So look at what they do, look at what they say, look for consistency. And if there's any changes, don't presume that they're a liar, but look for a good reason why they would have changed their views. And if there's not, it's a strike against them. Question number 3 is, how well do they match up? You got your views, you got the candidate's views. How well do they match up? Let's take the subjectivity out of it. I don't want you to say pretty good, because that's probably going to be your answer. Oh, I don't completely disagree with them. I don't completely agree with them. It's just pretty good. Let's do something objective. Create a table. I want you to have a column for every candidate. Okay, picture this. I want you to have a row for every characteristic you're comparing. It could be a particular issue. Just anything you see is a good thing. It could be, do they have military experience? How strong is their military experience, kind of thing. And you're going to rate it. Now, you can create your own scale. You can do a 1 to 10, but it needs to be a numeric scale. I would recommend doing a 1, 2, or 3. I would say if you disagree or they fail to meet a criteria, put a 1. If it is questionable whether they meet a criteria, or they have not made their views known, or you cannot comprehend their view, put a 2. Or if you partly agree but not completely agree, put a 2. And if you completely agree, put a 3. And these are going to be at the intersection of a candidate and a particular characteristic you are comparing. You're going to put that 3. Say candidate X meets your criteria for issue Y. In other words, you agree. Put a 3 in that intersection. And then what you're going to do is at the bottom of the rows, under all the issues, you're going to have a total row. And from the column, you're going to add up all the numbers from all the particular intersections. And in the total row, the intersection of total and the candidate, you're going to come up with a score. And that score is going to be how much you objectively agree with them, your belief systems and their belief systems. It's going to be objective. And you don't need to put things in the rows like how good did they look, how good did they, don't put silly stuff in there. Because that's the stuff we're trying to get rid of. So you come up with that objective score, and you can see who you match up with the best. Now, keep in mind, who that you match up with the best is not necessarily who you should vote for, because we need to get to question number 4. If elected, how effective will they be? If elected, is it possible that they will be able to actuate the things that they stand for? This is arguably the most critical question, because you can see eye to eye with somebody, but what if they can't get it done? And maybe you disagree with somebody on some points, but you agree with them in large part, and they have numerous resources. Maybe that's a better person to vote for. So question number 4 is also critical. And this question says, we're going to look at their voting record again, but this time we're not going to look at, are they consistent? We're not going to look at, do they match up with you? This time we're just going to look at, did they get it done? Did they vote for a passing measure? If they voted against a passing measure, they lose points. If they voted for a passing measure, they gain points. If they voted for a failing measure, they lose points, etc. We're also going to look at human resources, support as far as voting support. You can love a guy, but if he's not going to get elected, why waste your time donating to his campaign, etc., etc. We're going to look at culture. A presidential candidate can overcome culture. There are underdogs that win, but you need to take into consideration, because it could be a strike against them, and there could be a summation of factors which leads you not to vote for them. Now, I'm not saying any particular of these characteristics would lead you not to vote for them. It might, but not necessarily. But you need to keep track, because it could be a particular summation. Could cause you to change your mind, or change your mind for the positive. Maybe you're like, I do want to vote for this guy because I don't like him on the surface, but if you look at all the little stuff, it adds up to overcome the one big thing I like about the other candidate. Okay? So you want to look at, so you want to look at it, can he be elected? And let's presume he is elected, you also want to look at, once he is elected, can he get it done? You want to look at the courts, the legal precedent that exists, the culture. You want to look at the Congress. If the Congress is Democratic and there are a Republican and a Democratic candidate which you like, if the Congress is Democratic, go for the Democrat because they're going to be synchronized. And when you have I think party lines are silly, and most critical thinkers think they're silly. But as far as a practical matter, Democrats are more likely to get legislation passed than if you have a Democratic president and a Republican Congress. I mean, take for example, right now, Obama is calling the current Republican Congress, he's trying to play the do nothing Congress card like they did back in the day. Why? It's not that they're do nothing, it's that they disagree. They're trying to do a lot of stuff, but it disagrees with the president and with the Senate, so nothing gets done. And that's a factor to take into consideration. Do you want a candidate who's not going to be able to get anything done? I sure as heck don't. Or maybe you do. Maybe presidents are doing too much and you just want somebody who's going to do nothing. I still wouldn't want someone who's going to do nothing. I would want someone who's going to try to correct the situation, but that's my own prerogative. So there you go. 4 critical questions. What do I believe? What does the candidate believe? How well do they match up across all candidates? And then across all candidates, are they electable? And once they get elected, can they get it done? You know, a lot of scholars argue about electability, but a lot of scholars don't mention the fact that once they get elected, they may as well be worthless anyway. So think about that, and you'll have an edge up even on the scholars. Take care, YouTube.